The case against tattoos. Okay, first off, if you are 40 years old and your arms are sleeved with tats, this video is not directed at you. Please stop watching. If you have a tiny butterfly on your panty line or Harley insignia on your bicep, and you stopped at that, this video is not for you. But if you are a 17-year-old girl who is obsessing about what tattoos you'll get when mom and dad are no longer the boss of you, I urge you to listen to me. Think of me as your reasonably cool uncle, who is giving you a bit of advice that you didn't ask for. Put up with me for 8 minutes. That's all I ask. Okay, let's get into it. Imagine that I was to give you $1,000 and you were free to spend it and didn't have to pay it back. It's yours, with 2 conditions. The first condition is that you have to spend it all on clothes, on one outfit. You can get the most awesome jeans and that amazing leather jacket, the boots you've had your eye on for months, all of the coolest gear that $1,000 will buy. Go shopping, spend every penny, enjoy yourself. And then deal with my second condition, and that is as follows. This new outfit of yours, the fruits of the best shopping spree ever, you will have to wear that outfit for 1 solid month. Every day at school, every day at your after-school job, you'll wear it on every date and at every party. You will not wear anything else for 1 month. Still interested? I bet you're not. I'm guessing that you would see the rule I'm imposing as a hideous assault on your freedom of choice, your God-given right to choose for yourself what to wear and when to wear it. Am I right? You're also thinking about how embarrassing that would be. Even I can't imagine being forced to wear the same shirt and pants every day for a month, and obviously I don't care much about fashion. Think about what you are about to do. You're about to have a stranger draw pictures on your skin. Wait, not on your skin, in your skin. You will come out of the tattoo parlor giggling with your bestie about how cool that rose or angelfish looks, and you'll excitedly show it to your friends even before the swelling and redness disappear. And then you'll wear it everywhere you go for a month. And after that, another month, and another, and another, and then a year, and another year, and another, and another, and another. The girl who held your hand while the tattoo gun shot ink into your flesh will get interested in the guy you don't like, and the two of you will drift apart. You'll work for a year or two and then go to community college and find out that you really like learning. You'll transfer to a real college and study something that you never knew existed way back when you and Madison were looking through the tattoo book together. Over time, you will almost entirely forget the crushes you had. You'll laugh at the goofy haircuts you wore when somebody posts pictures on a social media site that isn't even a thing yet. Maybe you'll move to another state. Maybe one of your parents will die. Important things will happen. And every single time you look in a mirror or catch your reflection in a store window or just look down at your own arm or belly or leg, that stupid tattoo will be right where it was yesterday. And every yesterday, snaking back through the years to that moment that you thought you knew how you would always feel. There will never, ever, ever be one single minute that stupid angelfish is not stuck to your skin. Are you with me? Are you feeling this? Listen, I remember when tattoos were for outliers. When I was young, a tattoo was a symbol of either adventure, duty, or rebellion. And it was only men, notoriously inept at expressing feelings, who felt the need to wear a permanent badge. Look, I was in the Navy. Look, I have a motorcycle. Look, I love my mom. I've been on the planet a long time. I've seen a lot of stuff come and go. After the hippie 60s petered out and the disco 70s fell apart and the crazy hair 80s got all played out, the 90s came along. This was truly a decade with no philosophy or identity. And this is when tattoos went viral. What once had been only for outliers became, get this, a fashion statement. Yes, the obvious insanity of a permanent wardrobe choice, like we discussed earlier, was lost on the dopey minds of the 90s. Tattoos caught on and caught on big, and they caught on as a fad. Make no mistake, a fad. You know what fads are for, right? Fads are for conformists. We all go through our conformist years, when we want to do everything our friends are doing. But as we grow up, we leave that behind and develop into our own unique selves. But if you, while following a fad, permanently mark yourself as part of that fad, you walk into an evolutionary dead end. You get trapped. You can wash the pink dye out of your hair and throw the dopey clothes in the Goodwill bin. But you're stuck with the tattoos forever. When people realize they've made a bad mistake, a hell of a lot of us will double down. It's a psychological defense mechanism. This is especially true when you can't undo the mistake. Tattoos are the classic example of this. If you've been stupid enough to get a lot of them in your youth, you will often just say, okay, I'm obviously one of the inked up tribe, and that will be it for you. No more personal growth that might take you into a world where tats are looked at as evidence that you are not a smart decision maker. You'll dial back your expectations of life. 100 opportunities will come your way, and just to avoid embarrassment, you'll pass on them all. And you may also miss out on true love because your options will be limited. That's just a fact. You can see why I strongly caution people not to watch this video if they are covered with tattoos. In the thread below, you'll see that many of them ignored my warning and now have to yell at me. They'll tell me how narrow-minded I am. They'll tell me that they have never missed an opportunity because of their many tattoos. They'll say that they have no regrets. Well, if you have no regrets, you lack the steering mechanism with which a person navigates a confusing world. Life is full of decisions made on the fly. We learn life's lessons by noting whether we feel relief or regret when we see the results of these decisions. This is how we grow. This is how we thrive and eventually become a wise person with something of real value to contribute. It's crucial that you not get into anything that you can't get out of, that you can't grow out of. Does that make sense? So why am I bothering to make this video? Am I trying to ruin your fun? Am I trying to stifle your creativity? No, I'm trying to convince you to stay as flexible as possible as you grow up, to have as many options as it is possible to have. You have no idea what the future holds. If you think that you do, it's only because your experience is limited. The boy band posters that were on your walls in middle school, would you want to see those bands in concert now? Of course not. You've changed. You're always telling your parents that you're all grown up, but you and I both know that you're not. The things you do now will seem silly to you in a few years. I look back on some of the things I did in my 40s and just cringe. How stupid I was. Fortunately, I did nothing that permanently locked me in place at one stage of my development. So I'm free to reinvent myself once again. And people eventually forget all the dumb shit I did. That's what I want for you. Freedom. Please, please, please consider expressing yourself on canvas or with a guitar or some recording gear. Get your thoughts out, your feelings, the real stuff, not the stuff that just happens to be in the pattern book at a random tattoo parlor. Live for the future. Don't get stuck in the past. Treat your body like a treasure and present it as such to whomever you eventually choose to grow old with. Learn about everything that catches your attention. Adopt the best of it and reject the rest of it. Think of your life as a long and beautiful story, a chapter of which you write every year. If you already have a few tattoos, stop there. Don't fall into the trap of justifying the few by adding a few more. If you are a parent or an aunt or a teacher, please show this video to the girls you know. I'll take the heat. If you can say it better than I can, borrow whatever ideas work for you and put them in your own words. If you've successfully dealt with this issue, tell us about that in the comments. And if you are that girl thinking about inking up, thanks for listening to your reasonably cool uncle. That was very wise of you. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications. Sometimes I worry about my Democrat friends. Sometimes I'm concerned that their activist activity directors are going to run out of victims to pretend to save from phony oppression and make-believe Republican villains. Then where would they be? Running on principle? I don't see that happening. So I was just walking down the street whistling a tune and enjoying the cool autumn breeze when I had this thought. Actually, I was standing on a ladder power sanding a fascia board in 80-degree heat. But nevertheless, I did have a thought. And the thought was as follows. Maybe stupid is the next victim group. We've milked about all we can out of racism, sexism, xenophobia, Islamophobia, and transphobia. Nobody's buying it anymore. You guys have been reduced to blaming Republicans for the plight of people trying to illegally elbow their way across an international border. You've made a victim group out of people who don't even vote here and probably never will. So the ability to make political hay from the terrible treatment of blacks, gays, women, Muslims, illegal immigrants, and those wacky gender swappers has kind of run out of gas. I know that somewhere in a back office at the DNC, a group of earnest young men and women in identical black-frame smart person glasses are tirelessly brainstorming about who on earth will be the next group of marginalized people who they can falsely accuse Republicans of persecuting. Who can it be? Who? Come on, everybody, give me something. Who can we pretend to defend? Sikhs? The heavily tattooed? People with acne scars? Hippies? The Amish? Come on, we're running out of road here. We got nothing. Well, you know me, always ready to help the rats that stayed on the sinking ship when I jumped into the lifeboat with the rest of the defectors. So here's my recommendation. Stupid people, this is your new victim group. Hey, if there's one thing that virtually ensures an inability to climb the economic ladder, it's stupidity. You get down there into the low 80s on the IQ thermometer and nobody will ever make you manager at the local Applebee's. And we have precedent, don't we? Already the nervous Nellies of the left have made it verboten to use the word retarded, even when speaking clinically about how best to care for the retarded. Can't say it, lest that term be heard by somebody who doesn't understand it and is impossible to offend anyway. Yes, the cognitively impaired are already a victim group, but that's the people with IQs down around the 50s. Nobody has yet made proper victims out of the 65 to 85 crowd. Smart enough to do simple jobs, but not smart enough to, say, see through Bernie Sanders. This is your new victim group, demos. Think of the fun you'll have outlawing the use of words like dummy, dipshit, dope, imbecile, knucklehead, dunce, idiot, and the old school classic, half-wit. This is actually a real problem. There are 52 million Americans not bright enough to succeed in today's challenging job market. And they suffer from the first day of preschool right up until they wash out of high school. This is a way bigger group than the paltry 13 million that you get if you group together L, G, B, and T, even if you add Q, I, and A, whatever those mean. Bigger than the 3.2 million Muslims, even bigger than the 42 million black Americans, and the illegal aliens who have magically been stable at over 3% of the population, which means about 12 million. Yes, the stupid are the biggest unorganized pool of potential voters, and they're just sitting there, waiting to be turned into bitter, entitled Democrats. You can turn your wrath toward those oppressing the stupid. You know, the mentally privileged, the well-schooled elites who peer down their Roman noses at anybody without a proper prefrontal pedigree, those arrogant blowhards who wield their SAT scores like a lightsaber at the cosplay convention, striking down the less educated like so many badly costumed Imperial stormtroopers. This is your new oppressor group, the unjustly smart, those benefiting from unearned brain cells. And here's a bonus, they're mostly white. This is perfect. Oh wait, maybe I spent a little too much time in the sun with my Makita 5000. Obviously, I haven't thought this through, because now that I think of it, you guys are the ones looking down your noses at those not as mentally awesome as yourselves. And if you were to establish the cognitively underpowered as a victim group, you couldn't denigrate perfectly intelligent Trump supporters as being dimwits. Not without feigning sympathy for us anyway, because if we actually are too stupid to know what's good for us, like you always say, shouldn't you be protecting us? This is problematic, no? The one group that actually is being sealed out of the increasingly brain-centric upper class must be ignored so that you can keep calling the highly skilled mechanic in the MAGA hat a moron. Sadly, that's what we're looking at. Yep, you can never make the stupid into a victim group because then you would lose the ability to insult perfectly intelligent human beings who use their wits to do the tasks that keep your cars running and the lights on at the DNC. You'd have to stop denigrating working class Americans as stupid, and we all know that can never happen. So yeah, never mind. You guys are screwed. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications. Yes, the stupid are the biggest unorganized. This is funny. I'm sorry. It's hard to say this without laughing. Yes, the stupid. Wow, that's hard to read.
Is it just me, or are the progressives even starting to see the problem with political correctness? When comedian Kevin Hart was pressured into stepping down from hosting the Oscars, Susan Fowler at the New York Times wrote this: "In holding people accountable for their old views, even ones they realize were wrong and apologize for, we are setting standards that nobody can meet." And she's partly right. They are certainly setting standards that nobody can meet, but it's not about old beliefs. The truth is, it's about controlling the people. It's not about making the world a better place or inclusiveness. It's about forcing progressive beliefs onto everyone else with fear and intimidation. If you can control the language people use, you can control the people. You see, we all have beliefs that would offend somebody somewhere, and we've all said things that would hurt someone else's feelings. Political correctness isn't about changing that. It's about silencing ideas that progressives don't want discussed. And the people who use it have traditionally used it against their political opposition, because it's just a political tactic. It's a strategy to demonize any person or idea that progressives don't want taken seriously. About 10 years ago, when Ann Coulter was getting criticized for insulting John Edwards, she said, "You know, Bill Maher was not joking and saying he wished Dick Cheney had been killed in a terrorist attack. So I've learned my lesson. If I'm going to say anything about John Edwards in the future, I'll just wish that he had been killed in a terrorist assassination plot." The media went crazy with headlines like, "Ann Coulter wishes John Edwards had been killed." But that wasn't what she was actually saying. She was illuminating the double standard. She was making the point that political correctness was only being used against conservatives, while people on the left could say whatever they want. But things are changing. For decades, the progressives who run our schools have been teaching kids that political correctness is about making the world a better place. PC culture has been a part of their daily lives since they were born, but nobody told them what its real purpose is. So now that those kids are grown up, they're calling out people who were never supposed to be called out. It was never a part of the plan to target left-wingers for these little speech code violations. It's gotten completely out of control, and now the jackals are eating themselves. The left has gone cannibal. If political correctness was ever about not being offensive, then why do progressives get to call conservatives anything they want? Is it inclusive to call someone who believes in smaller government a Nazi? Is it not offensive to characterize a person who supports the other party as being deplorable? The left want to control the language because they can use it to control the people. If you become a social outcast for saying that you want your son to be straight and to one day marry a woman and have kids of his own, then where does it end? The fact is that 96% of Americans are straight. That's the norm. And wanting your offspring to be in the majority shouldn't be surprising or offensive in any way. According to the Cato Institute, 71% of Americans believe that political correctness has silenced important discussions that society needs to have, and 58% are afraid to share all of their political views. That's more than half the population who are afraid to fully speak about their political beliefs. How could that possibly be a good thing? Well, it's only a good thing for the people who control what is and isn't socially acceptable to say. That's why they call you a denier if you don't agree with the left on what to do about climate change. It's why they say you hate women if you believe that abortion is murder. And it's why they call you a homophobe if, like Kevin Hart, you want your son to be straight. This tactic they've been using so fiercely against their political opponents has now been turned against them, and they are beginning to panic. Most of them would enjoy a funny comedian like Kevin Hart hosting the Oscars, and most of them aren't really offended by the song "Baby It's Cold Outside" either. When political correctness was a one-way street, they were all for it. But now that they've lost control of which way the cars go down that street, they're starting to have second thoughts. And that's the simple truth. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you want to become a supporting member of Blue Collar Logic, click on the link in the description and give what you can.
I'm going to give you a little life hack to get you through the holidays. I've tried this 100 times and it always works. Let's set the scene. You are a charming and witty modern conservative, and you're conversing pleasantly with the person you've just met. She, or he, says something that reveals that she is pretty far to the left. Uh-oh. This could go bad in a hurry. But don't panic and don't immediately start walking on eggshells the way we usually do. Go ahead and put in your 2 cents worth. Then when you get the look, followed by, "Oh, you're a conservative," do not go on the defensive. Just stay cool and say this: "Actually, I'm more of a libertarian, a small L libertarian." That way it's not technically a lie. Your new friend will immediately stop fidgeting and/or clutching her purse and scanning for the nearest exit. Z or Zer will instead relax and say, "Oh, okay, now what were we saying?" You see, for some mysterious reason, left-wingers hate conservatives, but are completely neutral about libertarians, even though the libertarian platform is at least as anti-left as yours is. Examples? Libertarians are for balancing the budget entirely through the cancellation of government programs. No new taxes. They're against taxation. They're against minimum wage laws and any sort of coerced union membership. They're against most forms of gun control. And they're against virtually all banking regulations and even most forms of licensing. That's right, you're on your own at the beauty salon and maybe even at the doctor's office. Libertarians would like to dismantle the public school system and leave health insurance and health care to the free market. And get this, libertarians want to dismantle Medicare, Social Security, and virtually all of the social safety net. Next to these guys, we look like, well, we look conservative. This just happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I was having a chat with a very nice woman out at a gathering in Arizona. She knew me from my music and was very pleasant and very warm. At some point, she revealed that she was a newly retired social worker. She mentioned a few of the terrible situations she'd been bogged down in due to the flakiness of people on her caseload. I said something about that being the problem with government programs, that people learn to be less responsible over time. And that's when I got the look. She said, "Oh, you're a conservative." To which I responded, "Actually, I'm more of a libertarian." Crisis averted. And pleasantness returned to the discourse, just like magic. By the way, Melissa, if you're watching, it was nice to meet you. Leave your death threats in the comments section. This hack never fails, and I've always wondered why. Do they confuse libertarian with liberal because the names sound alike? Have they just never bothered to look into what libertarians stand for? Or is it just because ever since they were tiny leftist tadpoles swimming gaily through the silt, the most important value they've been taught is automatic disgust for conservatives? I don't know. Perhaps it's just that large L libertarians don't pose a threat. I mean, when have they ever fielded a viable candidate for a national office? They barely get on the ballot and never get into the debates, so why would anybody be worried about them? And it's true that they are for legalizing drugs and prostitution and ending all corporate welfare and the free ability for anybody to marry anybody else, including groups of people, robots, and barnyard animals. Basically, no moral constraints on any nonviolent behavior. So that might explain why lefties dig them. Whatever the case, try it out. Next time you're outed as conservative, just say, "Nope, libertarian here," and everything will be just fine. Of course, you will need to resist the urge to punctuate all your sentences with MAGA, but your fondness for the president can be kept on the DL for a little while. If your friend brings him up, just say, "Let's not go there, shall we? We're having such a nice time." She, he, Zer, Zim will probably be relieved. And then you can change the subject. You could talk about computers or the cars you drive. Of course, when it comes out that you use a PC and drive an F-350 4x4, you may be right back where you started. But hey, everybody walks the minefield these days. Keep your head on a swivel and a song in your heart. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications. I like to look beneath the surface of things. I like to read between the lines. The furious opposition to Donald Trump has nothing to do with Russians or opportunistic porn stars or what he may have said off camera to some gossip show host. The fear and loathing that this man engenders on the left has to do with some deeper psychological triggers. I've thought of 5 of them. Here they are. Number 5, Trump is unpretentious. The main theory of progressives is that humans can be perfected if we would just do as they say. Therefore, they are always performing the role of enlightened New Age human. Donald Trump, on the other hand, has completely rejected the pretension you see everywhere among progressives. Progressives pretend not to be competitive. They pretend not to be greedy and jealous and full of themselves. Trump is no worse than anybody else. He just refuses to pretend that he's any better. Of course, he constantly brags about being better, but this just makes him look worse, which proves that he doesn't care about looking like he's any better. Blue-collar people seem to get this, but it really gets under the skins of the pretentious left. Number 4, Trump is not an intellectual. This guy is plenty smart, but if he ever cared about being an intellectual, that was a long time ago. The intellectuals would have you believe that they are in a line of great thinkers going back to the Greeks. When they tell you what they studied in grad school, they always tell you who they studied under and who that person studied under, until they trace their intellectual lineage back to a famous scholar. This is a type of academic hero worship. It's also a way of establishing authority. The progressive movement is based on the theories of important thinkers. And given the fact that real life continues to disprove all of these theories, it's crucial that they keep their intellectual pedigrees front and center, dazzling the next generation with big words and constant references to the ideas of the great thinkers. In this way, an intellectual can be seen as brilliant without ever offering a single original idea, and without ever building a single common sense argument. Number 3, Trump is the ultimate celebrity. Leftism is a collectivist philosophy. They insist on unity of thought. Makes sense. You can't have collective action without collective opinion. In the interest of this, they have taken over 4 key segments of society: academia, the arts and show business, mainstream media, and liberal politics. And in each of these segments, there are celebrities who popularize the ideas that the collective is then required to affirm. If you can't get everybody into the colleges, you need famous people to make the case. For 40 years, Trump used liberal mainstream media to become an international celebrity. He then used liberal politicians to get an inside view of their game. Finally, he used show business to present himself as a firm, no-nonsense decision maker. Then he crashed the grid and stole the White House. Now, when progressives turn to the hive mind for instructions, all they hear is Trump, Trump, Trump. They hate him so much that they can't think of anything else. In a real sense, Trump has reduced every one of their celebrity thought directors into a nonstop publicity machine for, well, Donald Trump. And he did it from the inside. Trump didn't just dismantle Hillary Clinton's candidacy and leave the whole party in tatters. He knows Hillary. He knows Bill. He personally had access to every political superstar that your average progressive longs to hang out with. Trump used them, tossed them aside, and defected to the GOP. That really stings. Number 2, he is the exact mirror opposite of Barack Obama. Obama represents 2 things in the world. Of course, he represents the first black president. After several tries, the left finally managed to get a black person into the White House. That was job 1 for the aging activist bucket list. But Obama also represents something just as sacred to these graying ex-radicals. He is the very embodiment of the cool college professor. You see, back in the day, when they were finally free from the jocks and cheerleaders who ran their high school, when they had been admitted into the storied halls of academe, each of them had a key experience. It went something like this. Well, that was a very interesting perspective. What's your name again? Please, elaborate. Tell us more. The validation that they had always sought came from the cool college professor. That professor was worldly and hip with an offhand grasp of culture and that whip-smart sense of humor that Jon Stewart later turned into a goldmine. Obama is that guy. He has so internalized the cool professor that the act works with every liberal who ever studied the humanities while battling youthful insecurity. Trump is the exact opposite in every way. Think about it. He's crude where Obama is smooth. His humor is like a chainsaw next to Obama's scalpel. He didn't go to college to learn the etiquette of the intellectuals. He went to college to get richer than he already was. In a very real sense, progressives see him with his gorgeous wife, and in their emotional minds, they're right back on the high school quad being blown off by the popular quarterback and his flawless cheerleader girlfriend. They look at the Trumps and see people who skipped classes and breezed through life, looking down their noses at the nerdy kids doing all the work. That's the image they have of Trump and Melania. And baby, that one hurts. This brings us to number one. The number one thing that fills them with dread. Trump is fearless. When people ask me why the left is so afraid of conservatives, I tell them this. They aren't afraid of conservatives. They're afraid of each other. That's the truth of it. The left has always been a reaction to what they perceived as the keepers of the status quo. In my video, Why Are They Always Wrong?, I break it down. Suffice it to say that they live in an unresolved adolescent rebellion against mom and dad. Fine, but mom and dad were right about most things, which means that the left is wrong about most things. Because leftist policies continually fail, it's become crucial to silence dissent. Left-wing brains are in lockdown. Political correctness is the straitjacket strapped over their minds. It prevents them from really thinking deeply about any of the issues put forth by the change junkies running the show. Why would they want to think these issues through? They know they won't be allowed to disagree. If they look at an issue and don't sign on to what their leaders say, they stand to lose their social group, their jobs, even their families. Open-minded inquiry into a new idea is fraught with danger for a person under the thumb of the progressives. Critical thought becomes untenable. They don't really believe that there are suddenly a dozen genders. They don't really believe that the most pressing issue for Black Americans is racism. They don't really believe that raising children is less important than shuffling papers in a cubicle downtown. But they cannot speak for fear of losing membership in the only cool kids group that ever accepted them. But Trump can, and Trump does. And the man's willingness to trash PC conventions is spreading like wildfire. Online, there is a growing number of men and women with world-class intellects and no time for political correctness. They sell out speaking engagements, and their videos get millions of views. Progressives are faced with the real possibility that Donald Trump, this boorish cad, may well be the wrecking ball that destroys the left-wing mind prison. And that really scares them. So those are my top 5 Trump triggers. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications. Well, those of us who listen to Dennis Prager have been expecting this for years. Every holiday season, Dennis plays Baby It's Cold Outside and warns us to enjoy it now because it won't be long before the new Puritans of the left send it down the memory hole. And here we are. This song, which is not a Christmas song, is unabashedly naughty. It's a song about attempted seduction on a cold night in Manhattan. It was written in 1944 by Frank Loesser to be sung as a duet with his wife at a housewarming party. And the song was a hit with their friends for years. In 1949, the song appeared in the movie Neptune's Daughter. Let's cut to the chase. Yes, this is a song about a guy pulling out all the verbal stops in an attempt to get some. So what? I'd like to remind all of you uptight culture cops that you are only here to ruin our fun because at some point in the past, your dad tried successfully to get laid. There are no natural exceptions to this rule. Since the dawn of time, men and women have been trying to talk each other into stuff. She talks him into financing a ring and a house and some babies, and he talks her into getting naked. The most important book ever begins with Eve talking Adam into a disastrous life choice. Why did he do that? Because Eve was hot. Hello? This isn't just some sidebar to the human story. This is the human story. And I don't mean that sex is the story. I mean that the human story is about the push-pull between male desire and female reticence. Why are men bigger than women? Because men have to compete with other men for the attention of women. Not only were men built to compete for sex, they were built by competing for sex. And women are built to tell him no, to make him work for it. His desire to mate is balanced with her perfect willingness to send him on his way frustrated. Or in the case of this song, grab a cab home while he makes himself an ice pack. Ask your husband what that means. The left is in full flight from the realities of human nature. They don't want to admit that there even is a male-female dance. They want men to be ashamed of their desire for women, and they want women to punish men for wanting them. The long game, of course, is for the left to control the minds of women through feminist victimology. Then, of course, they will control men as well, because the men who find themselves crushing on a cute feminist will show up at the demonstration carrying the sign she makes for him. He will vote for the party that is out to castrate him spiritually, and if he buys into the transgender fad, physically as well. I repeat, you are only here because your pop tried successfully to get laid. I posted that on Facebook a few days ago, and even some of my generally stalwart friends were creeped out by the song. Some called it rapey. Some referred to the line about "what's in this drink" as if Frank Lesser was talking about roofies. Listen to me. I was active in the Hollywood party scene at the time that Bill Cosby was feeding lewds to starlets at the Playboy Mansion up the hill. Those big white pills were everywhere. At some parties you'd see a little goblet on the coffee table filled with lewds, like Grandma would set out buttermints for company. Quaaludes had one near magical quality. They stripped a woman of her inclination to say no. And let me tell you that the Democrats were the political party of the sex and drugs culture. You could have blown Hollywood off the map and not injured a single conservative, then or now. The whole Me Too movement is just about 80% con job. Hollywood types are nothing if not single-minded social climbers. Nobody was really surprised to hear that the casting couch was still open for business. This song admits to the basic engine of human progress: men trying to get women, and women laying out the terms of exchange. That's healthy. A woman in full command of her power knows that men can be steered around by any number of organs, including, but not limited to, their hearts and their stomachs. Why pretend that it's ever been otherwise? I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that nobody on the regressive left ever says one negative thing about the debased sexuality in so much of rap music. No, those songs get Grammy Awards. So yeah, not a Christmas song. Maybe take this one out of rotation if you like a somber and thoughtful Silent Night. But put this tune into rotation along with your Marvin Gaye and your Barry White on any other chilly evening when you and your honey want to remember what it feels like to be alive. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.